What's up, everybody? It's Josh, and I want to talk a little Book of Boba Fett with all of y'all because, quite frankly, I'm very much looking forward to Book of Boba Fett coming out because right now it feels like we're in a Star Wars drought, and I'm sorry, fam, but Bad Batch just ain't it for me. And so there's a cool thread on Reddit right now that's actually kind of blowing up, and it's a compilation of everything confirmed and unconfirmed for the Book of Boba Fett. So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to go over to this thread with you guys, talk about where we are at exactly, because even myself, like, there's a lot of things that have come out. I'm sort of confused about all the different reports that are out there. So we'll go through all of this. I'll sort of give my commentary on what I think of this and kind of speculate on some of the things that are in here. So this was posted in the Star Wars League subreddit by Herder of Nerf. And it says here, a compilation of everything confirmed and unconfirmed about the Book of Boba Fett. And here we go. Let's start with confirmed information. He has the logo there. And then as far as the release date is concerned, it does appear that it's coming out in December 2021, obviously on Disney Plus. Now, there was an article on StarWars.com that indicated that this would be the case. There's also the fact that Jon Favreau hinted that it may be coming Christmas 2021, although that could have been a misspeaking. This was on a Good Morning America interview. Kathleen Kennedy also said the next chapter of The Mandalorian, presumably meaning the Book of Boba Fett, is coming in Christmas 2021. This was, during that investor call meeting where they announced the Acolyte and all kind of projects like that. She indicated that the next chapter of The Mandalorian, which again, we're starting to think really is the Book of Boba Fett, will be coming Christmas time 2021. Okay, also, we're expecting things to be coming out every Wednesday. So you're going to have new Book of Boba Fett's every Wednesday, not like it was with Mandalorian where they would come out like Friday morning / Thursday night. This is being sourced out at The Hollywood Reporter. And in this article here, they're talking about how Disney has shifted all of their original series to Wednesdays moving forward. And we think this is to give their original movies and different movie releases that they'll do on Fridays more room to breathe. This post then goes on to talk about all the directors that are confirmed. Obviously, Robert Rodriguez is going to be doing episodes, and we've heard that he's actually going to do multiple episodes. Jon Favreau is directing an episode. Dave Filoni is directing an episode. Bryce Dallas Howard is directing an episode, and a lot of this stuff has been confirmed via interviews that Tamara Morrison did with the press talking about Book of Boba Fett from the Polynesian Spa, of course. Now, as far as the executive producers for the show, it's going to be John, Dave, and Robert. This is something we've known for some time, but again, this is sourced out by a bunch of different sources. They are all executive producers on this show, and it really is the three amigos coming together for the show, and I think for a lot of stuff coming after this, which we'll speculate on in a minute. Now, it says down here that as far as the connections to The Mandalorian are concerned, Jon Favreau has said that the Book of Boba Fett is not The Mandalorian Season 3. This was back in that Good Morning America interview, and that the Book of Boba Fett will be sort of the next chapter in the Mandalorian saga, okay? This is sourced in an interview and also on an actual project announcement from that December 10th panel, that full panel discussion that Kathleen Kennedy did that we have on the screen for you right here. We've thought for a long time now, this is sort of Filoni-verse stuff, Mando-verse stuff, but it is officially confirmed that the Book of Boba Fett is the next chapter of a saga that they're trying to tell with all of these different connected shows. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. Now, as far as plot is concerned, it says set within the timeline of The Mandalorian. This was confusing. I know some people thought maybe Book of Boba Fett was going to be a prequel, was going to happen way later or something like that. No, it is more or less going to be told right within the time frame of The Mandalorian, although during this GMA interview down here, it will explore Boba's past since The Empire Strikes Back. He has stuck to one place in particular. We know this is Tatooine, or at least we assume this is Tatooine. We're not exactly sure why here. This has been sourced out from an interview, and this is John talking about the whole Book of Boba Fett thing. But again, this was in December of 2020, right? Last year. There's also a note here that the show will explore Boba's and Fennec's relationship, which is very interesting. And this came from an interview with Ming-Na Wen, who is very pumped about the show and, of course, has been in the current Bad Batch show. And again, it just looks like a lot of that connective tissue is definitely there. And again, it says here, as confirmed from from Ming-Na Wen, this show will explore what Boba and Fennec hope to achieve, their motivation and their purpose. And I want to kind of come back to that at the end of the video and talk about that, because that's really interesting to me. But let's get into now the unconfirmed things, kind of spoiler leaks and all that. We'll talk about where the sources are, what, you know, where it's coming from, etc., etc. And I'll talk about what I think all of this means. According to LRM, Bosk will appear. Also, according to LRM.com, Din Djarin may appear, and I can confirm that I've heard that as well. According to Cinelinx, Grief Karga, Cobb Vanth, and Migs Mayfield may also appear. That's a lot of people, but I wouldn't be surprised. And Black Cranston may also make an appearance. This is sourced out by Jordan Mason. Let's take a peek at this, actually, because I'm not 100% familiar with who this character is.
A few moments later.
Okay, so holy crap, he's an awesome Wookiee dude from the Dr. Aphra comics. Now, this is pretty interesting. Apparently, the villain of the show, or the main villain for Book of Boba, is actually going to be a character named Hammerhead. And apparently, he is a rival boss out there in the galaxy, sort of a rival to the mafia kind of gang thing that we think Boba Fett is going to try to set up here. And this is really interesting. It says here, Boba Fett has 3 bodyguards, and so does Hammerhead. This person traveled out of the US, and they asked them to come back for more scenes, but they could not at the time, so they possibly lost the role. No mask for their role as Hammerhead. Bodyguard, Boba Fett, and Hammerhead each had 3 bodyguards. One of them is Fennec Shand, the other are 2 Gamorreans. Neither Hammerhead nor Fett died, but several of the guards died. Something about Fett and Hammerhead teaming up against a 3rd enemy after fighting a few times. Pretty freaking crazy. We'll talk about that in a moment. There's also been some leaked apparel with Grogu that is possibly hinting at him being in the show. Now, this last one here, pretty out there, but not necessarily impossible. It talks about a massive Mandalorian battle league, and there's something saying take this with a grain of salt considering the sources, but it says Boba Fett will battle and later team up with 30 plus Mandalorians. This reportedly takes place on a white desert planet, and there's a couple of sources on this, the Giant Freaking Robot website, and then We've Got This Covered, which is always a red flag for me. Okay, so that is pretty wild, ladies and gentlemen, just on its own, but I also want to talk about some of the things I've personally heard and then go back over some of this info and try to make sense of it, okay? I have heard most of all, and this has actually been reported also by Andy Signor and over on Fandom Wire and stuff like that, it's that Grogu will be coming back, and not just coming back like at the end of the show, but coming back maybe in the middle of the show and for several episodes, and that is likely why you see some of the merchandise with Grogu. Now, when Andy talked about this, it was kind of a question of, you know, I wonder if Disney is just worried about doing a show without Grogu as he is so freaking popular. That's, you know, a fair point, and I do wonder how fans feel about that. But frankly, I wouldn't mind it too much, especially because we don't know how much time is going to pass. You know, roughly speaking, a lot of the indication that we have is that the Book of Boba Fett show is going to take place during the Mandalorian timeline, but we don't know what that means exactly. Technically, it could be a year, 6 months. It could span the course of months in the Book of Boba Fett, or maybe it's just taking place a while after we see Luke Skywalker take Grogu and do some training with him. I don't think Luke would take Grogu to train him, make such a big deal of the fact that Grogu needed some training, and then just bring him back immediately and come back and be like, yeah, I was wrong. Sorry. He's a horrible student. Take back this stinky little Grogu. But I have also heard that Luke Skywalker is going to come back in the Mandalorian, in the Book of Boba Fett as well. And not a lot of people are talking about this, but it's friggin' obvious, isn't it? I mean, if Grogu's coming back, and there's a lot of evidence of that, and there's some kind of other threat that's going to force even Hammerhead and Boba to work together, maybe it's the same threat that's going to make Luke Skywalker bring Grogu back into the fold and rejoin the fight, because there's something else really big and crazy going on. Now, jumping to that last really crazy theory that was put out there, or I guess rumor, about a massive battle happening on a white planet, a lot of fans, when they heard about these rumors, thought this could be Mandalore. And if you recall, Boba Fett thought Mandalore was completely lost in The Mandalorian Season 2 when you see Katie Sackhoff's Bo-Katan trying to get all the Mandalorians to work together. Boba's against it. He says that the planet is glass. There's nothing there. Everything that goes there dies, or, etc., etc. But I've thought since the beginning, what an interesting place for the Empire to hide, right? If everybody thought Mandalore was glassed or completely destroyed, then wouldn't it be a very good place for part of the Imperial Remnant, whether this just be Moff Gideon and the cell that was working with him, or perhaps Grand Admiral Thrawn and his sort of cell and his fleet? It just makes sense that some of those things and people could be hiding out on Mandalore. Now, if you've noticed in all of these reports, it's indicated that a whole bunch of the cast and crew from The Mandalorian are returning for the Book of Boba Fett. And there's some rumors that you're going to see Mandalorian Season 3 in the spring of 2022, coming out very soon after the Book of Boba Fett. That kind of makes sense as well. And I know there's been a lot of confusion about Mando Season 3, Book of Boba Fett. Was Pedro Pascal shooting with Book of Boba Fett? Has everything been resolved and is everything going smoothly now? And it kind of seems like everything that's coming out and all the reports that we're getting make it seem like things have been figured out. Of course, losing the Ranger show, that likely did throw a wrench into the plans of John and Dave, but it kind of seems like what they've done is consolidated that big saga plan that they have, and they're doing it now just in the Book of Boba and then moving pieces into The Mandalorian Season 3. I think they'll move even more pieces with the Ahsoka show and possibly bring things back to a big conclusion. Now, this is getting really, really speculative here, guys, but I really strongly feel like some big outside threat. Maybe it's just Thrawn, maybe it's something else, but I think like some big outside threat is going to start to be introduced in the Book of Boba Fett and push all of these characters towards an eventual Avengers-like outcome. Again, this is sort of indicating that Star Wars, under the tutelage of John and Dave, are trying to create a saga that takes place on Disney Plus that ultimately will lead to some massive big conclusion, I think possibly happening cinematically. And I've kind of been on this train for a while. It's speculative for sure, but some of the things that Jon Favreau has said in the past kind of indicate to me that they might be building up their sort of Star Wars Avengers or their Mando Avengers and introducing a big outside threat, trying to make Grand Admiral Thrawn the new Thanos of that time period in Star Wars and what they're doing with the saga. And if that is indeed happening, that's going to be a massive payoff. And I think you can sort of read into the tea leaves of some of the things that are indicated, rumored, or confirmed for the Book of Boba Fett. Kind of seems like this Hammerhead thing, this mafioso gangster type style thing, that'll be going on in the show. But then there'll be this other outside crazy threat where Hammerhead and Boba Fett have to work together, maybe for some massive threat like Thrawn or something like that. Who knows exactly? But there you have it, guys. A lot of what we know about the Book of Boba Fett. I'm interested in your thoughts on some of the things we talked about and also your anticipation and speculation for the show itself. So leave that in the comment section below. Make sure you're checking out the live streaming channel where I live stream all the freaking time, talking about all the nerdy things going on. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.